Hi everyone, it's Ganja here, Mary Jane. How are you guys doing? I know it's been a while, but I figured I'll just jump in today. I was asked if I have any opinion or outtake on those Philippine YouTube that are, you know, done in the Philippines, and just because I'm Philippines, I guess they wanted to know what my outlook and my outtake. I like watching this videos. It does remind me a little bit of what I remember. Um, I was born in Cebu and raised in Davao. Well, when I say raised, I was there till I was like 8, 9 years old, and the rest was in America. I grew up in New Jersey, Elizabeth, New Jersey, USA. But when I see all these videos, it kind of like brings back a little bit of the memories, or it jaggered some of the memories that I might have forgotten when, I would go to the city with my grandmother, because I was raised by my grandmother. So it's really interesting to watch these videos and to hear these ladies speaking Bisaya, because that is my language. And although I was raised here, my mother made sure that we speak and we don't forget Cebuano, Bisaya, just so we can speak to our grandfather. Although, of course, my grandfather came to America. He was the first one that came to America because he's an American citizen. He was born in Maui, Hawaii, and that is why we were able to come to America, because he's an American citizen. Rest in peace, Grandpa. It really entertains me. I like watching people that goes into the village, because I remember when I was growing up, walking around with my grandmother, there would be like a banana plantation, coconuts, and the things that are cooked like on the street food. I remember them. I also remember how it is when my grandmother would say, today we're having chicken. And that means, we did have chickens, we have bunnies, and we had a little sari store, which is like a convenience store. And needless to say, I didn't know that when you hear your grandparents say you're gonna have chicken tonight, meaning that they're just going to pluck the chicken off your farm or whatever and decapitate it. Yes, that was a little bit traumatizing, I suppose, because when you beheaded a chicken, it still moves around. So I was like, what? And it scared the crap out of me. However, it's so when I watch this YouTuber that are in the Philippines and doing these things, it does make me feel like I could relate to them, and I can remember, here, there, and a little bit pieces there of how it was when I was young and my grandparents and my family was still there, and we would go to the beach and stuff like that, or ride a jeepney or tricycle, which is it's really fun. So watching those videos, it kind of like brings memories to me that of my grandmother, and my family when they were young, my aunts and uncles when they were still in the Philippines, or before we all came to America. I came here when I was like, I don't know, 10, 11 years old. Grew up in New Jersey, Elizabeth, New Jersey. So when I see this, it just brings back some memories. You know, some memories that you treasure because you're like, for me, you know, my grandmother had passed many years ago. So when I see things, it makes me feel a little better, you know, and I say, oh yeah, I remember that. My grandmother used to do that, you know, back in the days. And somebody was saying, you know, what do I think? Um, I think for most part, I think they're very on point. Um, However, I do watch some of this Filipino women that are, you know, they talk about Philippine culture and stuff like that. There are things that I might not really like agree on. I mean, that's just because probably different opinion and different upbringing. You know, even though my parents make sure that we grew up with our culture intact and everything else, you know, we were taught how things are in the Philippines and how you pay your respect, you know, you and how you treat your elders, you know, all the cultures and the things that my parents and my aunts and uncles have learned growing up, you know, in the Philippines. Now, I don't have a lot of family, like cousins in the Philippines. I think most of my immediate cousins are here in America. I only had like one uncle that had 6 children that were in the Philippines and they were born and raised there. Most of my cousins were born and raised in America. But they have been in the Philippines, you know, with their parents to just see and you know, get the feel of how it is to live in the Philippines. I know that some Filipino women are they're very jealous. I'm not even gonna lie, especially if they are married or dating an American foreign person. I get that. And they would, people that I know growing up here would ask me, oh yeah, everybody are docile in the Philippines. I don't think that's the word for it. I think they are just, they will stand for what they believe. However, they are raised to take care of family. And the husband has always been the breadwinner, and they were raised to take care of their husband and family. Now, I might have a different opinion on that subject just because I was raised differently and I'm here. Although I do follow some of my cultures, you know, as a Philippine woman. So it is very interesting for me to watch, you know, certain things that I might have forgotten. So it gives me that nostalgic feeling like, oh yeah, the bananas or the lechon, you know, the pig, the roasted pig, and walking through the village. Now my grandmother and my grandparents and my uncles and we live in a village per se, but not like mountain village. No, it's a barangay. I don't know if that makes any difference, but it is like the houses are like, you know, regular houses, like made of bricks and stuff like that. So it's more or so like a community village. It's a barangay. I think that's how they call it, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. And then they have this plaza where, you know, if everything is happening, you will go to the plaza. If they were having some dancing or some festival, what I remember is that village wasn't fully developed yet. However, when I went back, probably almost 25 years ago, when I was pregnant of my daughter, she's my second child, and my son was 9 years old, and I took him there, and he really enjoyed it. He was having fun, loving it. And we, of course, my parents, it was a family reunion. My mother and stepdad, my brother, my sister, and my son and myself were there. My mom wanted to show us, Philippines, because my brother was born and raised here, and my sister and I came here when we were young, so she wanted to show us where we grew up, or where we were born, or how the culture is. I mean, it's a good thing, because it makes you appreciate things, what you have. Because when you see things in the Philippines, especially where you came from, you see some other villages. Like, my mom took us to this in Mindanao, in some far off village somewhere near a mountain. I don't know, I would say, I can't even remember the name of it. And getting there was like a bumpy ride. So you go through this little river. When we went through this little wannabe river, there was no water when we crossed. We were in a Jeep. By the time we came back, there was water. So that just shows you, right, that the flow and things changes. So anyway, hey, look at my shirt. Okay, I'm being a squirrel. So going back there, I remember when I was little swimming in this river with my aunt and my grandmother over there when I was pretty young. And to see it again when I'm older and more mature, and it brought back some memories. Some happy memories, really, because who doesn't have a good time swimming, like a river. And I remember my son, he got on this big rock, and I took a picture of where the water was like whooshing down, and he was like loving it, because the water was really nice, and it was warm in the Philippines, and it was good to show him where I was when I was young. Even though I wasn't there long enough, it was just the thought of showing my son where I came from. It was a great experience for him as well as for me. We take so much for granted, the things that we have here, and then when you go to other countries, it's like when I went there, I was pregnant, and there's certain things that I needed to go, like I had to go to use the bathroom, and they were trying to show me where the bathroom was, and it wasn't like really a bathroom, because remember, this is like somewhere in the boonies somewhere. And so my mom brought toilet papers, because it's something that they might not really have handy in the boonies or mountain or whatever you want, or this village like way off. And so, and then it was like an outback type of bathroom, and I'm gonna tell you, if I didn't have to go so bad, I would have never gone, because there was no light, there was nothing. It was just like I was just squatting on things and I was like so grossed out. Sorry about that. I was grossed out. And I just really didn't know, like, it's like an outhouse bathroom, and then when you squat, you're like, and you close the door, everything just turns dark, and you're like, I hope I don't fall. But yes, so it makes you appreciate what you have here. Anyway, I do enjoy watching these videos. There are other YouTubers that I watch, and they're like Filipino women, and they really like talk about what to expect when you date Philippine women and in the Philippines, and I do understand some of the things that she say are perhaps the way it is, you know. um, I don't think most Philippine follows the same patterns, especially if they were raised somewhere else. However, you could pretty much bet that everybody that are born and raised in the village, in the Philippines, far away from the city, would have a pretty much, I want to say, more less educated on the ways of the city, you know, unless they live in the city for a while. Um, they're they live minimal, you know, they don't have that much, and most likely they live in a hut if they live in a village. So they're very candid and straightforward. Pretty much the people that live in the village or has been living in the village. Now, I think if you have a woman that lives in the city, you know, they're more city-like, they're more city smart, they have a different outlook. There might be a little bit more jaded than the ladies from the village. I mean, that comes with anywhere, right? Any country has that. Okay, maybe not the Western, but nevertheless, you get that from, you know, people that are living in the village compared to people in cities. Anyway, I do enjoy watching this YouTube's that reflects Philippine way of life, because it gives me this feeling that I understand it, and I remember it, and it's so nostalgic for me to like be able to relate to the ladies that are on the video. You know, like when somebody is married to a Philippine woman and they're going to the village, and it's always very interesting. I'm sorry if I'm looking up because I'm watching, you know, some of this YouTuber that I normally watch, and it, you know, it gives me that feeling like, wow, I remember some of those. I remember the sugar cane, not that way, but I remember biting on a sugar cane, and you have to suck the sugar cane in and then throw it away, you know, spit it out. It's not something that you just want to, like, you can't chew it. But those things like that, it, you know, it gives me this feeling like, oh yeah, I remember that. I do. And I wish I could bring my kids so they can experience that as well. I think it would be a good experience for them, and I think they would appreciate more the life that they have, you know, and how lucky that we are that my grandfather was an American citizen and that we're able to come to America rather than, you know, live our life in the Philippines and in the village. However, we did own a convenience store, and we had a little farm. So I guess it wasn't like we were struggling. But my grandmother wanted my uncles and aunts to come to America to have a better prospect as far as jobs and better life. My grandfather didn't want to bring them out here. He was just happy working in a farm and or in the logging where they cut trees and stuff like that. He was just happy. But my grandmother wanted more than that, and she wanted her children to achieve a better life than what we have, you know, and the only way they could do that is if they came to America and, you know, follow their dreams and have a better options. And so we did. Oh, they did. Everybody came here when they were young. Probably like they're in their 20s. My uncles and aunt were probably like in their 20s or so. But I wouldn't mind going and, you know, going to a village and just like watching how things are, and experiencing and bringing my children and see for themselves. They can see for themselves how some people live. You know what I mean? When your means are not readily handed to you. You know what I mean? You got to work for it or dig it out because you're a farmer. And I wanted my children to appreciate it. But anyway, I was just reflecting on what it's like to live there, and even though I was young when I was there, I still do remember things, and I still speak Cebuano, Bisaya. Um, Although I don't speak it fluently, but I do understand. I can understand Tagalog, but I don't speak it fluently at all. I mean, I can put words and words, string it together, but I cannot speak fluently. But I could speak Bisaya fluently, that's for sure. There is 100 and something dialect in the Philippines, and they don't understand each other. So there's always like the common dialect would be the Tagalog or English. A lot of the school teaches you how to speak English because of the fact that, especially in a city like school, because first of all, of course, there's a lot of foreigners, so the schools start teaching students to speak English as part of their natural language. So a lot of the people in the Philippines would probably speak Tagalog, English, and Bisaya. So that's like 3 languages that they can just speak fluently. Okay, maybe not the English part, but Tagalog and Bisaya are, I'm sure they're fairly fluent. That they can speak English. Now they do get a little shy when they speak English because, of course, they only use it when they're in school. When they get home, of course, they speak their native tongue. But I think it's great. I think everybody should go and visit Philippines if they were able to do so. I think there's a lot of places that are tourist friendly, things that gives you the vibe of being in an island, eating island foods, and it's just the atmosphere and the relaxation, and I think it's really a good place to go, and they're very nice and friendly, and in most places. They welcome tourists, and they're very friendly people. And if you go to Davao, Mindanao, just be careful. There are not tourist friendly per se, unless you know somebody, or you're just gonna go and go to certain places that you restrict yourself from. But Davao is, and a lot of times they're off limit to foreigners unless you know somebody, or if you stay in a certain area, then you'll probably be okay. However, Manila and Cebu, Bohol, Dumaguete, I think there's a lot of people that lives there. Baguio, Boracay. I think those are the places that a lot of the foreigners goes to. I mean, I watch them. Now, I've been in Bohol and Cebu because that's Cebu where I was born, and Bohol is where my father's parents were from. So I remember going to their house. I've never been to Boracay, but then again, I left when I was young, so I never had a chance to really go around. I grew up here, but by watching it on YouTube, oh my God, it's like a beautiful place to go to, and I would, encourage people to go to the Philippines and visit these islands if you can, because I think this is a good experience, and you really would appreciate the things that you have if you're in a Western countries, you know, or Europe or stuff like that, because it's just totally different. It's a different vibe, different atmosphere. Things that you would do normally in your country might not be something that they do normally over there, you know. So it's educational as well as fundamentally eye-opening for a lot of people, for a lot of foreigners maybe. But it's fun, it's enjoyable, there's a lot to do, people are friendly, they're always willing to help you. So when you ever get a chance, go visit Philippines and enjoy yourself. Bye. And I'll talk to you next time. Good night. Okay.